Hi, my name is Susan, and I'm 18. Have you ever faced difficulties because of your appearance? Have you ever felt different? I felt, despite the fact that I did not face direct mockeries. Watch the video to the end, and you will learn how to live with a height of only 4 feet. As you can see, I really wasn't tall. I'm only 4 feet tall. These are the consequences of an accident that I got into when I was still a child and stopped growing. But that doesn't stop me from living. I have friends, a boyfriend, and a hobby. I love science, especially physics, and I've not encountered bullying. I met my boyfriend a little over a year ago when he transferred to our school. His name is Steven. He didn't mind my height, and our relationship developed so well that a year later, after graduating from high school, we decided to move in together. And that's where the problems started. At home, he took care of me, helped me with everything. And at first, of course, I liked it. But then he started to go too far. I could no longer make my own breakfast or dress. He immediately jumped up and forced his help. And when I went out, he called me every half hour and got mad if I was late. Have you ever lived with your other half? If yes, has the relationship between you changed? He explained his behavior by saying that he was worried about me. But I'm not a child or a cripple. I can take care of myself. I tried to tell him that, but he didn't seem to hear me. Then it got worse. One day, we went to the central park of our city just to walk and talk. A group of several people was walking towards us. When Kevin saw them, he let go of my hand, and his face changed. He blushed and lowered his head. When they saw him, they came up and greeted him. It turned out to be some kids from his old school that he hadn't seen since he left. When they asked him to introduce me, he was embarrassed and said that we were in the same class. He didn't tell them that I was his girlfriend. I was in shock. Is he ashamed of me? One of the guys made a crack about me, something like, "I thought you already had a daughter." Steven laughed and said I was too small to be his daughter. After a little more conversation, we parted from them. I was startled. Not only didn't he stand up for me, but he also agreed with these brutes when they made fun of me. I tried to understand him and not be offended and to pay attention to it in the hope that this would not happen again. However, I couldn't help thinking that my boyfriend was ashamed of me. That was the first time I felt handicapped. The only thing that distracted me from these thoughts was science. But even with that, the difficulties began. After graduating from high school, I decided to study with a tutor for a year before going to university in order to pass the entrance exams. I met twice a week with the teacher who taught me physics. Steven was well aware of this. But for some reason, at one point, when I started to get ready for class, he made a scene. He said that I went to the tutor too often and that I should be taught by a woman, not a young man. I didn't know what to say, and I kept packing. He knew how important this was to me. What questions could there be? My silence made him angry, and he tried to snatch the backpack out of my hands. He said I wasn't going anywhere, and that he would find me a tutor for my gender. I couldn't stand it. We started fighting. I shouted at him that he had no right to control me, and he was sure that he had to do it. He kept reducing everything to my height, and I was very offended by it. In the end, he even said that with my health problems, I should just give up the idea of becoming a scientist. When I heard this, I froze, not believing that he could say such a thing. I took my notebooks and I left. After class, I decided to think about it. I realized that even though he was acting awful, I loved him, and maybe he was just worried about me. I decided to become more feminine for him. I started wearing heels to appear taller and started wearing more makeup. I tried to be polite and affectionate. I also cut back on my physics classes to spend more time with him. However, he either took these efforts for granted or even laughed at me when he saw me in a new feminine outfit. I felt that his attitude towards me remained the same, and it was very depressing for me. I no longer knew what to do to make him perceive me as a complete human being. Have you ever been in such a situation? Have you ever felt that your loved one doesn't appreciate you and treats you like a stupid child? Soon, my hope that a relationship would improve was completely extinguished. At one point, I picked up his phone to call the tutor and warn him that my mobile was dead and I would be late. As I held it in my hands, a notification appeared on the screen, a message from a pretty girl. I knew this was wrong, but my curiosity and anxiety got the better of me. I opened his text with trembling hands. I wish I hadn't known. In his texts for this girl, he constantly complained about me, that I was obsessed with studying, that I was boring, that he was tired of hiding me from his friends. The same messages he wrote to a couple of his close friends, and, believe it or not, another girl. Moreover, he constantly paid them both compliments and courted them in every way. How it pained me to see it! Out of anger and resentment, I threw the phone against the wall. Stephen came to check it out. When he saw that I was crying and his phone was broken, he seemed to understand immediately. He started making excuses, saying that he didn't really think the way he wrote, but I didn't want to listen to him. I realized I didn't want to see him again. Trying to hold back tears, I picked up my backpack and packed it with the most necessary things. Stephen tried to stop me, but I just pushed him away. I went to see my friend Lily. We met at a photo exhibition that she organized. She works as a manager in a fashion agency. When I told her about it, she told me that I should never stay in this relationship. In her opinion, Stephen's behavior destroyed my self-esteem and dreams. I knew she was right, but I couldn't accept it. Stephen and I had been together for so long, and it was so hard to believe that it would end like this. Lily said that she had an idea to help me take my mind off it. The agency where she worked was looking for people to shoot a project about people with disabilities and unusual appearance. I never even thought of acting, but I agreed, thinking it might be fun. Soon after, Lily sent me to a photo casting session. She told me not to take it seriously, but just to relax and have fun. After casting, I sat in the hallway and waited for the results. Soon, the manager came out, selected 2 girls, and sent the others home, including me. Of course I was upset, although I tried not to expect anything. Lily met me at home. When she saw that I was upset, she apologized and said that she seemed to have made it worse. I tried to say, "It's all right, Lily," but I was secretly thinking that I wasn't good enough here either. However, that evening I received a message from this agency. It read, "One of the selected models will not be able to participate in the shooting, and you were the next applicant." This meant that I was being taken. I was very happy and grateful to Lily for helping me. Soon, the shooting took place. I was very pleased to feel beautiful and interesting for someone. When I was being shot, I made faces and assumed silly poses. It was really great. The photographer was laughing with me, and I felt so confident for the first time. All this time, I kept thinking about Stephen, and participating in the shoot really helped me understand that I was only holding on to him because of my inner insecurity and fear that no one else would like me. So I thought it was over. Lily suggested that I stay with her, and I gladly agreed. I also got a call from the agency and was offered to continue participating in the shooting, but I refused. It was great, but my passion was science, and I continued to study even harder than before. However, there was something else that I decided to devote time to. When I saw at the casting how upset the other girls who were not accepted were, I realized that I was not the only one facing problems because of my appearance. Lily and I decided to open a hotline to support those who face abuse and bullying based on appearance and physical disabilities. We regularly get calls from people who need help, and we support them as much as we can. If you like this story, then like and subscribe to the channel. Love and appreciate yourself.
Hi, my name is Christy and I'm 15 years old. Have you ever been betrayed by your dear ones? Could you have lost your freedom because of something you didn't do? My life almost ended because of lies and love. In my childhood, I decided that I would become a pharmacist when I grow up, in order to find a cure for cancer so that no one else would have to lose their loved ones like I lost my grandmother. She was the closest person to me, and for her sake, I study excellently to go to the university of my dreams. But sometimes my childhood friend Veronica prevents me from fulfilling my dream. I'm always aware of her new boyfriends who she changes like gloves, and it really pisses me off. She always tries to introduce me to someone, but I'm not up for it. She knows how important it is for me to study well, but she still annoys me. Once Veronica invited me to a party. Of course I refused, but she insisted and said that I needed to rest. So I agreed on the condition that we wouldn't stay up late. Of course, Veronica immediately found a handsome boy named Jacob and had an affair with him. But what I didn't expect was that she would start setting me up with this handsome boy's friend. Bob was very persistent, and I wasn't interested in him at all. He tried to get close to me all night, and I tried to get away from him. Unsuccessfully. I didn't manage to go home earlier because Veronica kept asking me to stay some more. So I came home late at night, and of course I was late to school and missed my chemistry class. Well, thank you, my friend. Have you ever been late for school because you partied all night? From that day on, my life became a complete nightmare. Bob didn't want to let me go and kept asking me out. Of course I refused him. I didn't need a relationship. But he seemed to be chasing me and waiting for me at every corner. So I threatened to call the cops if he didn't stop following me. Thank God it helped. From that day on, he seemed to have disappeared and everything would have been fine, but he wasn't my main problem. Veronica completely lost her head with her loves and gave up on studying. I always had to cover her misses and let her cheat. Of course, it couldn't last long. During the test, Mrs. Leslie caught us and gave us both an F. Veronica got it for cheating, and me for helping a friend. I knew that her affair wouldn't do neither her nor me any good. So when Veronica came to visit me and told me that Jacob had broken up with her and blocked her everywhere, I was happy. Finally, she would stop suffering from nonsense and start studying. I told her not to worry and to be better prepared for the next day's chemistry test. Wait, what test? Veronica asked in surprise. Of course she didn't know about it because she hadn't been to school much in the past few months and she spent all her free time with Jacob, not studying like I did. Veronica got hysterical and burst out crying, and instead of preparing, I spent the whole night calming her down and listening to her talk about what a fool and traitor Jacob was. She fell asleep a couple of times and I hoped that I could revise the material, but she immediately woke up and started everything over again. I was completely shattered in the morning. I didn't sleep most of the night, and I didn't have time to revise anything. So I tried to avoid Veronica. I didn't have the nerves and strength to comfort her at school as well. With these thoughts in mind, I entered the class and immediately ran into my friend there. Well, bye-bye test. But thank God she didn't bother me and just asked for my phone. She wanted to call Jacob from my phone because he didn't pick up on her phone number. I was so tired of their relationship, but when I saw my friend's tear-stained face, I agreed and gave her my phone. I wouldn't be able to write the test calmly, knowing that my friend was suffering so much. She returned a few minutes later, smiling and beaming with joy. She said that everything worked out and they even met in the hall. Jacob apologized for his actions and offered to start everything over. She returned my phone with an empty battery. She said that it had turned off, although I charged it at night. Well, fine. I was happy for my friend. Even though I thought the idea of starting over with Jacob was terrible, I didn't say it. My friend was happy, and so was I. I told her to revise the material before the test, but she didn't listen to me at all. She said that everything would be fine, and then she continued thinking about her boyfriend. She was so careless. Mrs. Leslie came in and asked everyone to get ready. And just as the test started, I heard the school evacuation announcement and the cancellation of all classes. We were all taken out of school, which meant there would be no test. "I told you everything would be fine," said Veronica happily. And I was perplexed. I needed that test because only after passing it, I could find out if I could participate in a competition. Did you ever have any school evacuations during important tests? The next day, the police came to my house and took me to the police station. I tried to resist in every possible way and read them my rights, but everything was useless. They didn't tell me why they brought me there for a long time. I was thinking about all the events that might have brought me there, but the truth was far worse than I imagined. I was accused of calling the police from my phone and falsely reporting a bomb at school, and was told that such jokes do not go away without trace. Now the bomb squad was trying to find out if there was a bomb in the school or if it was just a joke. But in any case, I was the main person involved in the case. I was shocked. I didn't call anyone, but yeah, I gave my phone to Veronica. I told the police about it, and my friend was immediately called to the station. I had bailed her out so many times that she could certainly explain it all. But instead, she started to deny everything and said that she just called her boyfriend from my phone because hers had turned off. That's it. That was when I understood everything. That was why she was so calm before the test. She didn't need a phone to call Jacob, but to tell the police about the bomb, and to clear herself of suspicion, she decided to set me up. After all I had done for her, I couldn't stand it and started yelling and accusing her right in the police station. I listened to her whine about Jacob, always supported her, and gave up on my studies, and that was how she thanked me. I was immediately reassured by a police officer and told not to make my situation worse. Veronica just left without saying anything. The next day, I was released on bail and the trial started. From what I heard, I was facing a large fine and correctional labor. Of course, the whole school found out about it. I was considered a hypocrite who was ready to set up a friend, and everyone began to avoid me. Then I was even suspended from school. But the worst thing was that I couldn't participate in the competition anymore. I was afraid that this was the end of my life, so I decided to talk to Veronica. She swore that the only person she called was Jacob and that she didn't report any bomb. Well, she only gave it to Jacob, who asked for a phone to call someone because his phone was dead. But that had nothing to do with it. What do you mean that had nothing to do with it? Obviously, he did it all, used Veronica, and set me up to clear himself of suspicion. I asked her to tell that in court so that I could be cleared of all charges. But Veronica said that I was just jealous of her, and she had noticed long before that I had a crush on Jacob. I tried to take off her pink glasses, but I couldn't. She said I was slandering him and left. The trial was 1 day away. I was on edge. My grades got worse, Mrs. Leslie lost confidence in me, and my dream of becoming a pharmacist and finding a cure for cancer was over. On the day of the trial, I no longer had any hope. I had no defense witnesses. My alleged best friend would protect her boyfriend instead of me, and then my life would be over. But instead, she said to release me because I was innocent, and she was the one who called and reported the bomb because she wasn't ready for the chemistry test. I was angry and started yelling at Veronica right in the courtroom. She knew how important it was for me to become a pharmacist. My grandmother loved her as if she were her own granddaughter. We were immediately separated then. Veronica could not stand it anymore and wept, saying that she didn't call. Jacob asked her to say so because he had a maths test that day for which he was also not ready. Veronica would do anything for him to keep him in love with her for longer. A month passed. I was cleared of all charges and my friend and I made up. Jacob was punished and Veronica cut all ties with him. He certainly tried to push for pity, but I didn't let Veronica be used again. But the most important thing is that I cleared my name and was allowed to participate in the chemistry competition. That meant that my dream would come true. Subscribe to the channel and don't miss new stories.